What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Wisconsin got the win against Montana on Thursday. And in the meantime, I thought it'd be fun to do a little tier list of the best players under Greg Gard and his tenure. Kind of the criteria for this. I'm picking players who I think would be the best pieces to help me win ball games. And I'll explain why I pick each guy. But this is not solely based off of accomplishments. Like, all because you made an all Big Ten team or were all American doesn't mean you're the piece I want to win. This is subjective, not objective. So if you disagree with me, let me know down in the comments. But yeah, it's about winning, and I'm going to base it quite a bit on the peak. I'm going to do a full, scope of like what they did throughout their career, but I'm going to keep what they were at their best in mind, their best season. So let's get right into it. And part of the ads here on the tier list website, but let's get rolling here. So we start, I'll click X where I can, but yeah, we start with Carter Gilmore, and Gilmore has turned himself into a really solid role player for Wisconsin, where like, it's too bad he doesn't have more eligibility with him, because he's gonna do a little bit of everything. He's kind of a jack of all trades. I think it's been all mental for him. Like, I thought he had the skills to do what he's doing like a while ago, but I think he's just got the confidence now. But he can put the ball on the floor. He can shoot. He's physically solid. And Gard's been saying for years now how he's always in the right place at the right time on defense. He's a solid defender. He can score on the block. Gill is a versatile player and a guy who's a star in his role. So he's going to get a solid players piece. And yeah, next is Chucky Hepburn. And anyone who knows me knows I'm not the biggest Chucky guy. The reason why is I don't think he can consistently get to the lane and create for himself or others at the level I would like him to. So, yeah, Chucky, that's one reason. Then also his energy. I never felt like great vibes coming from Chucky. I thought he was at his best his freshman year. But, his junior year, he didn't really shoot that well, didn't really create that much for himself or his teammates. His sophomore year, he shot well, but he had 3 years as the point guard at Wisconsin, and we got one NCAA tournament win from him. I don't think he lifts up his teammates all that much. He had a great year at Louisville, but I'm basing this off of what he did at Wisconsin. I'll put him ahead of Gilmore. But we'll move on to Stephen Crowl, and I'm putting Stephen Crowl in front of Chucky and Gilmore. Stephen Crowl, so let's talk about him for a second. His shot looks fantastic. Last season, he shot 44% from three. This year, he's shooting 41, 42 now. And I don't know what he did, but you can tell he spent some time in the lab working on his shot. It looks the best it's ever looked. Like, he's always had like a little bit of a hitch in his shot, but now it's just a straight fluid shot, which I'm, basing off the current Stephen Crowl is a solid fifth year senior. And when he's a mean Stephen Crowl is a game changer, easily a game changer. With his passing ability, and now his shot's been looking really, really good. And he's just a solid anchor for the Badgers. And but I think I'm going to leave him towards the top end of the solid players tier. Next, we got Nolan Winter, only a sophomore. I think he's got the potential to be an elite player on this list. I really think he's got the potential to be an elite player, which is saying a lot, because you'll see how many guys I have in the elite players category. But Nolan Winter go right behind Crowl, in front of Chucky and Gilmore. I like that he's shown flashes of putting the ball on the floor. He can shoot. And boy, has he improved in this season alone. Like, at the beginning of the year, there was a week against Michigan where he really struggled with the physicality of Wolf and Golden. And then David Choplin at Marquette. He is a senior, but he's like, 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". He's strong, but he's not a freak of nature strength-wise. And he had his way with Winter. I think Winter, I feel like he might have gotten stronger throughout the year, but he's also gotten more aggressive, and that's key. I thought him and Crowl did a great job on Wolf and Golden in the Big Ten championship game. Wisconsin just couldn't make a shot to save their lives. So, yeah, I'll put him behind Stephen Crowl, but I actually do think he could potentially be an elite player. And then next, we got John Tonje, easily an elite player. So he's a bull in a China shop getting to the hoop. He will not be denied. He just goes so hard to the hoop. He shoots at nearly 40%, 6'5", and people like to roast him for being a 6-year senior, but 10 years ago, I could find 6-year seniors for you. Like, this is nothing rare, especially with the COVID year. What's rare is there's 8th-year seniors and 7th-year seniors. Seth Towns last year was an 8th-year senior who was 26 at the beginning of the season. There are 25-year-olds, 24-year-olds all over college basketball this year. I probably can find a 26-year-old or two. But being 23 in college basketball isn't that rare. Everyone's got to stop coping, bringing up him being a 6-year senior, but absolute dog. He's a late bloomer. was on the B team his freshman year of high school. You know, it took him until his senior year to really have a big impact at Colorado State, where he averaged 14 points per game, got hurt at Missouri. And then this year he popped off close to 20 a game. Unbelievable player. I think he should have been Big Ten Player of the Year. I think he should have been first-team All-American. Just a dog leading the way. And you guys are watching him. You know what he's doing. He's an elite player. And then next is Nigel Hayes. He's a step below an elite player. I think a lot of people remember Nigel Hayes from what he did in that last NCAA tournament and the NCAA tournaments in general. But if you want to base him off the NCAA tournaments, look what he did. Look up what he did in the 2016 NCAA tournament. He shot 5 of 27 in the first 2 games against Pitt and Xavier. So Nigel, and then you go to his senior year, he really bulked up, probably a little bit too much. If you go to the combine, fun fact, well, I'll start with after he went in his junior year, went to the combine, he had one of the worst vertical jumps at the NBA combine. He shot 36% from the field that year, 29% from 3. That's not great. And then his senior year, he shot 31% from 3. Really didn't shoot well in the conference play. But I think he got a little too strong. He had, with a 7'4" wingspan, I believe he benched at the combine back when they used to do bench press. I think he benched it 17 times. 185 for 17 with the 7'4" wingspan is actually insane. It's simple physics. When your arms are that long, you're working a lot more than a 5'8" guy who could just pound out reps with a short wingspan. But yeah, anyways, Nigel, jack of all trades, a Swiss Army knife. He won a lot of games. There's no denying. He won a lot of games. His senior year, he really locked in for the Big Ten tournament and postseason play. There were a lot of ugly games throughout his senior year where the team was in the 50s. Look up that Rutgers game at MSG where Happ was balling out. But so I think a lot of people might remember him for those NCAA tournaments. He changed his form heading into his junior year, and he never was shooting the same. And for me, shooting makes the world go round. I like guys who can space the floor, don't clog up the lane. So that's enough time there. Next is Brad Davison. He's a game changer for me, especially his 5th year. I thought he was one of the best shooters in the country his 5th year, where he shot 34%, but hear me out. He got really cold in February. Outside of that cold stretch, I think he's one of the best shooters in the country because you look at the quality of shots he was taking. He was curling in the corner, has a hand in his face on the move. Not many easy threes, not many spot up set shots. He was shooting tough threes. And he's a 3-point king. He got the 3-point record sooner than Bronson Koenig did, fewer games. He did it in an extra year, but he did it in fewer games than Bronson. But yeah, he averaged 14 points per game his senior year, was 2nd team All Big Ten by the coaches. Yeah, Brad, defensively, he's a dog. He's going to make a big play for you. He's going to take a charge, really solid, and he's really physically solid, one of the stronger guys in this list. I would love to see Brad and John Tonje together with their physicality. But yeah, and then offensively, rarely makes mistakes. Super high IQ player. He's a winner. He is a key reason why Wisconsin in 21-22 got to a 3 seed, because that team had their flaws. That team had no depth, no shooting really outside of Brad. And they found a way to win a lot of those close games. You got to give Brad a ton of credit for being the Robin to Johnny Davis's Batman. And next, we're going to go with Kamari McGee. And this one's a tough one for me because I'm a big McGee guy. I like players who uplift their teammates, bring positive energy, positive vibes to the team, enthusiasm. McGee is just such a good locker room guy, such a good leader. Kind of the exact opposite of Chucky. I know Chucky started over him. But if I want to win games, I want stars in their roles. Gilmore's a star in his role. I want to put Gilmore higher than Chucky, but I won't. I'm putting McGee over Chucky. Roast me in the comments. I don't care. I think Chucky had a great season at Louisville, but the Wisconsin Chucky we saw, I don't know. He just looked depressed out there. I really like Kamari McGee and what he does for this team. And next is Connor Essegian. Really solid freshman year offensively, was a liability defensively, and sophomore year didn't play much, and there really was no justification for him playing because of Blackwell and Storr's emergence. But yeah, he could shoot, but he didn't really shoot that well his sophomore year in the limited opportunities he had. Next, we got Jordan Davis, who is a negative piece, and I'm not here to roast people or drag people down, but he did start just 2 years ago. He started about half the season, so I have to include him on this list. But he's just not Big Ten level talent. That's the reality of it. He probably is a good kid, but he just wasn't ready for prime time. I don't know why he was starting 2 years ago. I don't know if that was Gard trying to make the Johnny Davis happy. I don't know what it was, but He went to Illinois State and I believe averaged like 3 or 4 points per game the next 2 seasons after he left Wisconsin. He was starting for Wisconsin. I think he averaged more points at Wisconsin than he did at Illinois State, which showed you what Gard was working with 2 years ago. And that's, Gard's recruiting. But yeah, Jordan Davis, I'll stop ragging on him. But if you want to win games at a high level in the Big Ten, you probably don't want Jordan Davis starting or playing more than 5-10 minutes a game. And that's the reality of it. Brevin Pritzel had a really good redshirt sophomore year, but it was on a team that didn't win a lot of games. And then his 5th year, I thought he really figured it out. You heard like Nigel Hayes and others saying how unbelievable of a shooter he was, like in practice, but when it just didn't translate to the games right away, but he really found his footing. Was a sneaky athlete, hate using that term, but he would throw down every now and then, physically solid. Seems like a good dude. I like guys who can shoot quite a bit. I'm going to put him right ahead of Chucky. I like he's a sniper. He's a sniper. He's physically solid. That's where I'm going to put him, right behind Kamari McGee. This year's Kamari McGee is what I'm basing it off of, and I love this year's Kamari McGee. Maybe I'm a little bit of a prisoner in the moment, but let me know what you guys think. Next, we got John Blackwell. This is one where I think it might be a little bit, you guys might disagree with this one. John Blackwell is averaging 15.6 points per game right now. And you look at Brad averages 14.1 points per game. Big differences. This year's team averages close to 80 per game. Brad's team, I believe, averaged 69 points per game. And then you look at basketball IQ. Brad rarely made mistakes offensively. Johnny has some head-scratching turnovers every now and then. We're talking 5th-year Brad versus sophomore Blackwell. It's very close. Blackwell might be a bit more of a playmaker, within the three-point line. I think Brad's the better shooter. Defensively, I think Brad's better than John Blackwell. For now, I think Blackwell could potentially end up in elite players if he comes back next year and pops off as the guy alongside Nolan. But I'm going to put him right behind Brad because Brad just has those intangibles that very few players have. And then next is AJ Storr. So if I'm basing it off of the first 2 or 3 months, Storr would be a game changer. Close to an elite player, but game changer. Here's the problem is the rumors that he was fielding offers from Illinois and Kansas and negotiating deals. And the rumor is that he's a bit of a bomb in the locker room. The team did not have good chemistry late in the season. Wasn't that hard to tell. Even though they made a run in the Big Ten tournament, they kind of fell apart. I'm going to, as a senior, if a Storr hypothetically comes back and he can't field more NIL, that might be a different story, but I thought he was a negative piece for the last 2 months of the season when he was with Wisconsin. I don't think he wasn't just like Chucky. I think you remove both those guys in his addition by subtraction, better chemistry, better locker room, better just energy. And then next, Klesmit is next. So Klesmit truly was not just only a glue guy his first 2 seasons at Wisconsin, getting buckets in the mid-range, shooting close to 40% from 3. This year, he's been more of a glue guy because he hasn't been as prolific from 3. He's shooting about 28%. It's just for some reason not falling for him. He would be higher if I'm basing off just his first 2 years, but you guys still see the value of Klesmit. When he was gone, Wisconsin wasn't the same. So Klesmit, I'm going to definitely put him above Brevin Pritzel. I'm going to put him above McGee. You want Klesmit start. You want McGee to be the spark plug off the bench. And then right now, I'm going to have him surpass Nolan. Just right now, Nolan could be a dog and become an elite player, I think, potentially. Pardon me there. Do I put him over Crowl? No, Crowl's too solid. And then next is Tyler Wall. And fewer people were as much of a Tyler Wall apologist as I was, but I had good reason. Hear me out. So Tyler Wall's first senior year, I'll never forget it. Wisconsin was playing South Dakota in their first game of the season. And I was watching, I was like, holy cow. Like, Tyler Wall looks like a gazelle out there. Like, he was a good athlete his first 3 years, but he was just zipping around the court. I don't know how he trained in that offseason, but he looked fantastic. Like, he looked explosive. He had a dunk against Stanford where it was just a two-handed dunk in transition, but I was at the game. He got so damn high, and he was so fast and so quick, and at 6'9", he could really, he was, slithery to the hoop. He had handles. Like, to me, the first 2 months of 22-23, his first senior year, he looks like a first-team All-Big Ten player. Look up at his stats. He was averaging about 14 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, close to a block, averaging an assist, steals. He was stuffing the stat sheet. And Wisconsin was 14th in the country when he got hurt. When Tyler Wall got hurt, he never returned to the same form when he came back. I think he came back too soon, would be my guess, and never really let his ankle recover. And in his 5th year, he never returned to that athletic guy who had that swagger to him too. He hit a step back 3 in overtime at Iowa and was waving goodbye to the fans. And he also, in overtime against Marquette, he had Omax Prosper guarding him, one-on-one ISO, close game, intense game at the 5-serve. And he Euro stepped and sent Omax Prosper to the first row. And Prosper is an NBA player. Wall was really good. So if I was basing it off that Wall from the first 2 months of his first senior year, sounds crazy. I'm putting him at game changers in front of Brad, right behind Nigel. I can't put him ahead of Nigel because Nigel was able to do it longer, but unfortunately, he never returned to that same form. So I like guys who can stretch the floor. I'm going to put him right behind Nolan Winter. Hate to do it. I'm a big Tyler Wall guy, and however he trained, he should return to that training as a pro moving forward because he was a dog. And the next one is Micah Potter. I love a 6'8", 6'9", 6'10 guy. It's hard to know what his real height is. He's been listed 6'10", listed at 6'8", but he shot really well, like maybe 45% from 3 in his first year at Wisconsin. It wasn't Ethan Happ on the block scoring, but he was decent on the block, really good shooter, physically strong. And next we got his the fellow Twin Tower Nate Reavers, who was probably the best player on a Big Ten regular season championship team in 1920, the 1920 season. And but I don't know what the hell Nate Reavers did in his offseason training in heading into his senior year, because he went from leading the team in scoring on a really good team to looking like I coach 8th grade basketball. It looked like if one of my 8th graders was guarding me in the post when he would match up with Dickinson, with Luka Garza, with Kofi Coburn. Those guys are tough, but Reavers really struggled his senior year. His junior year, he was all Big Ten, but senior year, he struggled. And it's a holistic. I am focusing on the peak, but I'm not overdoing it. I don't know. I mean, just because he had that really good junior year, I definitely got to put him in front of McGee. But off of the senior year, definitely. If we're comparing senior years, McGee over Reavers all day. Over Wall, no. Like 5th year Wall, I'm taking over senior Reavers. 2 months of Wall his junior year versus his first senior year versus Reavers junior year. I'm definitely taking Wall. I'll leave him right there. I think that's a good spot for him. If I'm basing it solely off his junior year, I would probably put him maybe even right here at Game Changers, but I'm going to put him right behind Nolan Winter. All right, next we got Demetric Trice, who his 5th year, and if you want to make fun of someone being old, Trice was actually like legitimately old. He was 24 his whole senior year, turned 25 before the school year was done. But that's such an advantage in college basketball. Like, having old teams and old players, like, it's a man's sport. Like, that's great. I don't know why people think that's a good roast. But Trice, this is a tough one. I really rooted for Trice. He was really good against guys like Marcus Howard, like defensively, like small little guards. But, Trice is probably 5'11". He had his limitations, could shoot the ball, did win a decent amount of games, played all his years at Wisconsin. So we're going to go. I feel like I have to put him in front of Nolan Winter. He was all Big Ten as a senior. I'm not, or 5th year senior. I'm not thrilled to do that, but I'll do it. I don't love doing that. But anyways, we'll go with Aleem Ford next. Aleem Ford, versatile player, but wasn't good enough to be doing, like, if you watch his highlight reel, he looks really good, but he couldn't do on that highlight reel on a consistent basis. Like, he would have a nice mid-range, like, fadeaway jumper, a nice drive to the hoop, maybe like a little step back 3, but he never did it consistently. But he did during the COVID year of the NBA, 21-22, I believe, when COVID kind of ran through the NBA. He did touch an NBA court, which is something to be proud of. I'm going to put him behind. He had similar stats as his first senior year and his 5th year, or his redshirt junior year and his 5th year. I'm going to put him right behind Pritzl because I like guys who can shoot. Ford was kind of a jack of all trades, could do a little bit of everything, solid, smart player. Next, we got Zach Showalter. I'm not trying to be rude, but I think this is the first picture I saw was Zach's LinkedIn picture. I think he's in the finance world now. But Shoei, he was good straight line driver, really athletic, really bouncy. I felt like he lost a bit of his bounce as his college career progressed. Like, he had a lot of his dunks his redshirt sophomore, junior. I don't think he had a single dunk his fifth year. But yeah, he could get up block shots. He would surprise people. They wouldn't expect it from him. He's solid catch and shoot 3-point shooter, not a guy on the move you want shooting. I'll put him in front of Wall, behind Reavers, because guys, you gotta remember what Reavers did his junior year, right? Like, but he glue guy, tough guy. Maybe I'll put him in front of Reavers. Showalter never struggled like Reavers did his last year. Next, we got Bronson Koenig, and a lot of people, I think, with Nigel as well, remember Bronson fondly for what Bronson did in the NCAA tournament, that game winner against Xavier, and he won a lot of games at Madison, part of some really good teams. And he also, his senior year, he was unbelievable in the tournament. He was a dog. For me, because he's such a good shooter, I prefer Bronson at the 2. And right now, it's close between him and Brad. Why a lot of people I think might be upset with that one, but Brad defensively was better. Brad is physically stronger. Brad was a really good shooter in his own right. Got the 3-point record in fewer games than Bronson did. I think Brad could get to the hoop a little bit better, score in the post a little bit better. Bronson was the better shooter, I would say, overall, and Bronson was really silky smooth, especially in those NCAA tournaments. There were times where Bronson struggled, and that team wasn't generating a whole lot of offense. But I think it's very close. If you need, it's kind of what does your team need? Does it need more of a point guard? Even though I prefer Bronson at the 2, I know he played point guard at Wisconsin. I think he'd be a better 2. Do you need more of a point guard? You'd probably go Bronson. If you need that glue 2 guard, I'm probably going Brad. But I think I'm gonna make my decision based off of leadership skills, and I'm not trying to drag anyone's name, but based off what I heard, Brad was a better leader than Bronson. I won't go further into that one. So we'll go Brad there, and then we'll go Vito Brown is next, another teammate. Where's Gilly? He's going behind Gilly. All right, so Vito Brown, his junior year, really shot the ball well, looking a little Keaton Nankiville-esque. But you look at every aspect of the game. Brown started, he had a bigger role, but you look at this 5th-year Gilly and Vito Brown. Gilly is better than, I would say strength-wise they're equal. Vito is a strong dude, very physically solid, smart player. But I think Gilly can put the ball on the floor better. If you need Gilly to take a tough shot, he can make it better than Vito. Vito rarely ever was able to drive the ball. He didn't have a good handle. Didn't really score too well on the block. He wanted Vito picking and popping. In his senior year, he shot, I believe, 31%, so he struggled at what he was good at. So I'm going to put him right behind Gilly because I think Gilly just is more versatile than Vito Brown. You put 5th-year Gilly on those in Vito's role on some of the squads, and Gilly's going to cook. Like, Gilly's a winner, man. We're going to go Ethan Happ next. Ethan Happ. This one is another one that I think is a controversial take. Hot take here. But I like guys who can shoot the ball. And let's just look at Ethan Happ's career overall. He had one season, I believe, where he shot over 60%. It was his freshman year. They got rid of Gary Close, who was the shot doctor. And I shouldn't have done these little air quotes, but he was the shot doctor. And everyone's percentages kind of dipped off after he left. But Nigel Hayes, or Ethan Happ, was a 3-time All-American. But you look at what he did in 16-17. When you had Nigel Hayes and Ethan Happ, they combined for 10 free throws attempted per game between the two of them. And they both shot, I think Happ was barely at 50. Nigel's at like maybe 56, 57. It's really hard to win. That's why they lost to Florida. Forget the buzzer beater. If Ethan Happ and Nigel could shoot their free throws, they would win that. And with Nigel and Happ together, lanes clogged because they weren't real threats to shoot. So Ethan Happ, every negative stereotype of Wisconsin basketball being ugly and slow was just exaggerated when Happ was there. Because when it was Happ's turn to be the man, his redshirt junior and senior years, his junior year, they didn't even make the NIT, couldn't lead him to that. And then his 5th year, got a 5 seed and got smacked by Oregon. So, Happ is a very special skill set, very unique with how he can finish around the hoop, how he can dribble. But, man, he really clogged the lane. And they would just feed him the ball. I didn't love what Gard was doing back then. They would feed him the ball 17 feet away from the hoop. He'd pound the ball to the hoop, pump fake, reverse pivot, pivot, fake, and then like crazy spin on the ball shot. Ugly basketball. Give me Micah Potter who can shoot. I'm going to make Happ a game changer. Won't disrespect him, put him in solid players, but man, he really clogged the lanes on the floor for others. He was a good passer, created open shot opportunities for teammates when teams would double. But I want guys who can shoot. Like, can you really give Happ the ball in crunch time? No, like Giannis, but even worse. Like, if they would just hack a shack him if you gave him the ball in crunch time. And then next we got Johnny Davis. Johnny, gosh, the first 2-3 months of his sophomore year, unbelievable. He was just amazing. John Tonje is more of a bull in a china shop, while Davis is a little more slithery, right? Tonje is a lot stronger, and even now, Johnny and Tonje are similar in age now. Tonje is a lot stronger than Johnny Davis. But Johnny, his mid-range is great. He can finish at the hoop, but he shot about 9-10% worse than Tonje did from three. He was a 30% three-point shooter, and he couldn't dribble the ball that well. So I think Tonje's got a ton of advantages over Johnny. Johnny was great, run-up for National Player of the Year. Averaged 19 points per game. I believe he was runner-up for Big Ten Player. Or did he win? Yeah, he won Big Ten Player of the Year. Johnny had a great year. I'm not trying to take away from Johnny, but, man, I'm rocking with Tonje. I'm rocking. Johnny got a little bit hurt towards the end of the year, and he also, I don't know if his head was in the game, down the stretch of the season. I'm giving it to Tonje, man. Tonje is the top of this list. And then our last one is Khalil Iverson. Man, Khalil Iverson was young for his grade. He was 21 his whole senior year. And, not to get off on a tangent, but a lot of parents hold back their kids. Kids go to JUCOs, prep schools. Like Trice went to a prep school, right? That's why Trice was so old. And he was already a year old for his grade. Iverson wasn't like that. He's pretty rare. And so was Charlie Thomas. But that's pretty rare. Like, a lot of parents are a little bit, overzealous, hold their kid back, have them redshirt in 8th grade or whatever it is, kindergarten twice. He was 21, and if he had another year of eligibility, he would have been really good because he figured things out the last month of his senior year. I believe he had 21 on the road against Ohio State. Iverson that last month was a dog. He was really, really good. Gosh, I have Chucky really low just kind of looking at the list, but I'm fine with that, man. I'm fine with that. And maybe I should bump Kamari down a bit. I don't know. It's my list. I do what I want. I'm going to go Iverson in front of Chucky. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Iverson was really good that last month. And, is that right? I probably should go Chucky in front of Iverson. I don't want to get roasted too bad in the comments. But Iverson, man, really good his last month. And for how well he could jump, he had his issues freshman, sophomore year. Like, people, I forgot what the website was, but there's a Badger website that graded like the entire team and what they did offensively, defensively. And he's like, yeah, Khalil Iverson was without a doubt the best defender on the Badgers. And he said that like after his freshman or sophomore year. Iverson was a target of the other teams. Like, he would get cooked on defense. For how high he could jump, he could not move his feet well laterally, but he really improved on that his junior and senior year. You could tell he worked on his lateral quickness and his shuffles. Improved that, was really solid, but I can't just go the last month of Khalil and put him too high. But he was the dog. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for my tier list. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know where you disagree. Sorry for the ads on this video, but for more Badger content, for more college basketball content, hit that subscribe button. And thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and I will see you soon.